to Live Life with Jay. I'm Jay. I'm Jay Narvaez, the Live Life financial coach and educator, to bring you the foundations of financial literacy from budgeting to building wealth. Today, we have a very special guest. I am so excited. Her name is Sonia from Castelan Tax Services. Castelan Tax Services. And today we're going to talk about tax deductions and tax credits. What's the difference and what types that you can use for your small business. There are so many tax deductions that will help you limit how much taxes that you pay on your AGI, adjusted gross income. I'm learning, guys. I'm learning. So if you're interested on that and you're a small business owner or going to open a small business and you need to know more about tax credits and tax deductions, stay right here. You're in the right spot. Hi guys, welcome to Live Life with Jay. Today we got a special guest. Her name is Sonia from Castelan Tax Services. Well, introduce yourself, Sonia, and tell us what you do.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for having me on, Jay. I really do appreciate it. As she mentioned, my name is Sonia, and I am the founder of Castelan Tax Services, and I'm also a first-gen Latinx tax professional based in Connecticut. And my mission, is to educate entrepreneurs as well as individuals, gain financial confidence, as well as minimize their taxes.
Yes, that's the best part. And that's what we're here for today, how to minimize taxes. So we're going to talk today about different types of tax credits. Would you elaborate on that for us?
Yes, no, for sure. So just to break it down to you guys, there is a difference between tax credits and tax deduction. So obviously the media out there, they're almost like basically would just talk mostly about tax credits. But just to let you guys know what the difference are is, from a tax deduction, what the deduction does, it actually lowers your tax liability by a certain percentage, while a tax credit lowers your tax liability dollar for dollar. So there is a difference between those two. Obviously, the well-known tax credit that everyone knows is the child tax credit, the earned income credit. There's also, the education credits as well. There's plenty out there, but those are most of the most common ones that's utilized by lower and middle class family. And I will say that, tax credits, these are geared towards mostly primarily to lower middle class families. So if you are like more on the middle and higher end income, I'm pretty sure you guys are well aware when you do your taxes every year, you don't qualify for like the earned income credit. In some cases, some might not even qualify for the full child tax credit amount based on their income threshold. But there are other ways you can lower your tax liability, and that obviously will require some tax planning, but I won't go too much into details about that now. But yeah, so I always encourage, a lot of the families, when their situations changes, to always continue to, update their W-4, especially if they have like a newborn that's coming along in the family. So you definitely want to make sure that you're updating your W-4, reflecting that, so that you don't get caught by a tax bill surprise. Because sometimes when you don't make those adjustments, sometimes you end up with a tax liability, or sometimes you end up with a bigger refund. And that's, again, everyone can see this very, they can see it in a very good way, or they can see it in a very different way. So, but yeah, no, so that's what the differences are. But yeah.
Those is basically for like family credits, right? Those are the normal ones that they get. Let's talk about small businesses, because there's a lot of small businesses who are new and they open up and they don't realize like some of the tax credits or deductions that they can get when they're filling out their income tax.
Oh, yes. So, and I get this a lot, especially from first-time business owners. They don't know what they can qualify for. Mm-hmm. So before you even, when you're doing your tax return, I usually ask business owners, do you, besides, your 1099s, if you were issue a 1099, are you keeping track of your expenses? because with those expenses, we can see whether or not you can qualify for certain deductions. For example, let's say you bought a new lawnmower and you're in the landscaping business. What we can do is we can depreciate a lawnmower, and that, when we depreciate, we'll calculate a deduction so that it can be applied on your tax return. And if you end up with a tax bill, it will help lower your tax liability. So it's very important that you keep track of your expenses, because they can help out. Here's how it usually works with the expenses. So you have your business income. Let's say you made $30,000, right? But your business expenses were $10,000. So what's going to happen is that, depending on the $10,000 expenses, it's going to go from this 30,000 minus 10,000. Your net profit will end up being 20,000. Mm-hmm. And what's going to happen in those 20,000 is that is where you're going to be taxed, because that's your net profit. Now, for some people, mostly like first-time business owners, they usually are at a negative. And that's okay. Just keep in mind that if you're at a negative for the next 3 years, that's totally fine, because the IRS is well aware that the first 3 years of your business, you will be at a negative. But after the third, fourth year, they're expecting you to have some profit in, and will need that profit to be reported on your tax return. So don't freak out if you're like, oh my goodness, I earned $30,000, but my expenses were $40,000, or my net expenses were like at $10,000. It's totally fine. IRS is well aware about that. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that, we're keeping track of your profits, or if you're at a negative, we're just trying to make sure that, we want to work with you so that you're not overexpending, because obviously as a business owner, you want to have some profit, right? Like you want to have some income that's coming your way and have it stay in your pocket. So that's, that's the purpose of, keeping track of your expenses so that we can calculate them appropriately and see if there's any other deductions besides like the depreciation part. If you work from home and you have a small home office that you use, that's another tax expense that we can write off as well. It's going to be a portion of it. Obviously, you can't take a full amount. So, again, that all depends on like the information that you provide for us. And so once you give us the, in this case, like we base it out by the square foot. We use that to calculate and make sure we get you the appropriate number for it, so that we can then apply it as, as the deduction, you can say, on your tax return.
Sorry. So do you do the square footage of like the area that I use, or do you do like the whole room?
But we do it on the area that you use. For example, like in your room, if it's a, 10 by 10, then we use that to calculate it. And I believe right now it's a $5 per square foot. I'm going to be real honest, when we just plug in that information based on what you give us, we just plug it in and it calculates for us. At least in my tax software, it will calculate that and spit out the number that will then be applied on your tax return. Okay. So that's just keep it. Yes, no, and I know a lot of people are iffy, like I don't know if I should qualify for this. Like, definitely talk to your tax professional. They will let you know whether or not you are eligible for a home deduction. And keep in mind too, like, a part of your home deduction too can include your utilities, your internet, heck, if you had home security, that's also part of that. Let's see, what else? There's a lot more. So I won't give up too much because there's a whole laundry list. But again, if you have more questions or concerns about home deduction, please feel free to reach out to your local tax professional, or feel free to reach out to me as well, and we can talk about it in depth.
Yes, definitely. Are there any tax credits for small business owners?
So here's the thing with like tax credit with small business owners. Again, most of them are deductions, but you can qualify for certain credits, which is like the retirement. For example, in order to lower your tax liability, I always encourage people to open up a 401k plan, a traditional IRA. Those are usually the top two that I tell business owners to start contributing to your retirement account, so that not only are you lowering your tax liability because you're using that contribution and counting in that on your tax return, but you're also building up a retirement fund for your future, because obviously you don't want to keep working until like past the age of 65. You want to have a healthy and wealthy retirement fund so that you can live off by it. So those are one of the, purpose of, helping lower your tax liability, because you can use that as a, it's a tax credit.
Do you have them also do a Roth depending on, I guess, the income that they're bringing in?
Yes. So yes, it also depends on your income. I usually tell people, like, if you're making less than $68,000 gross, that's good for you. You can max out your 401k plan. And you can also max out your traditional IRA. I believe they did increase the 401k contribution limit to $20,500, so, or 550. One of those two, which is a big, which is a difference from the previous year, because it was 19,500, I believe. Yeah. So I always tell people, like, take advantage of it while it's still there, because things can change. As you already know, the tax laws have changed constantly, especially the past 2 years, because of like this ongoing pandemic, and obviously with the policies being changed around, especially with the administration changing from Trump to Biden, so a lot has been happening. So, even myself, I'm like trying to keep up with all the latest tax changes. So, oh my goodness. So, but it's all good. It's all good, because I get pretty excited when I see something new. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Let me see what I can do to incorporate it on like my next session with my clients.
So if someone, what you said, if their gross was $30,000, right? And let's say their expenses were $10,000, and they contributed the $6,000 to their IRA, they don't get taxed on that because they contributed before it was their net profit.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is, so here's how it usually works. Mm-hmm. So you have your gross income, which is your gross amount, which is, let's say was 30,000. What's going to do before pre-annual gross income, which is your pre-EJI, it's going to add in your contribution, which in this case, $6,000. So $30,000 minus $6,000 will be $24,000. Mm-hmm. Now that is your pre-AGI. And then from there, your expenses are going to then kick in afterwards, which is the $10,000. So $24,000 minus $10,000, your net profit will end up being $14,000. I hope I did the math right on that in my head. So that would, they'll tax you. And that's a big difference between, like we said, $15,000 versus $14,000. Like, that's a huge difference. So I always tell people, take advantage of like contributing to a retirement account, because the tax system does encourage many to like build up your retirement fund and use that to use it to apply on your tax return, so that you can avoid having a big tax bill, because no one wants that. And believe me, I don't want that. I don't want that for anybody either. And I get that a lot of people freak out when they see when I'm doing their calculation, they say like, oh my goodness, I have this bill. I'm like, yeah, but listen, this is what we can do moving forward the following year, so that you can avoid these type of surprises.
Yes. And this is great to know, especially for our small business owners, because I didn't know any of this stuff prior to me reading some books. And I think I was reading Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was trying to remember the name of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And on there was like, I was like, oh, that's how the rich stay rich. Like that's how they're not paying taxes. Because I always wondered, like, they would always talk about Trump and how like he wasn't paying taxes and stuff like that. But that's what he did. He just kept putting it to stuff so that he wouldn't get taxed on it.
Yeah,
so I was learning.
No, it's all that's the big purpose of having tax planning in a part of your financial planning, because you want to take advantage of the tax system, because they're there. They're telling. I mean, okay, I will be honest. Like the tax code can be a very vague. Believe me, I know. Even when I was reviewing it myself, I was like, what the heck is all of this? But I was able to after doing some of my own research, and obviously I had some mentors who helped me understand more of the tax code, I realized like, oh my goodness, so this is how it works. It's just laid out very differently because they have that tax jargon, as I call it. And honestly, I don't know about you guys, but my attention span is like a 5-year-old. So like whenever I read these codes, I'm like, yeah, I need this translated like I'm in the 5th grade, you guys. So, and that's why, I created this page, because I knew like learning about taxes can be very intimidating, but one would wonder like, how are the rich utilizing these tax codes? I'm like, obviously, yes, they have some really good tax professionals, accountant also helping them, as well as tax lawyer. But we can also learn this, and hence why I feel like, I feel like if I can translate this myself, I can be able to relay this information to everyone else here in the United States as well. So hence why I'm, learning from, being in this industry. I'm very happy to be able to, pass this knowledge on to my platform in a simple way and educate many so that they feel like they learn something, and they can, and if they obviously have more questions about, certain tax codes or certain tax credits or deductions, they can, hopefully they can reach out to me. Hopefully they can reach out to their local tax professionals to get more, more details from it. But yeah, that's like what I've been trying to do on my end. I've been trying to, simplify things so that people can understand how it works. I know there's a lot in depth, but heck, if the rich can take advantage of this, so can everyone else as well.
No, and what you're doing, you are the first Latina that I've seen talking tax. So it's like, this is amazing. We have to bring it out to the community, to the people that don't know this information, and that you're able to say it to us. Like, we need it displayed to us as a 5-year-old. I do. Like, I'm like, but you talk all this tax jargon. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I get it. I completely understand. When I first was in tax school, I had a professor, literally, he was all straight from the book, and I was ready to like lose it, because I was like, listen, I don't understand what you're talking about. I was ready to quit at one point, I'm not gonna lie, but I was very thankful that I was in this tax group. I had, really great, we had, I'm connected with other students in the same group, and we were all feeling the same way. We were very thankful that we had mentors who was able to break it down for us. And I just don't understand, like, honestly, okay, so I'm being very, very transparent. So I grew up in Connecticut, in an urban area. They did not teach us anything about financial literacy, let alone taxes. So coming out of that, I'm not gonna lie, I was very scared. Like, and I actually struggled myself financially because I didn't know anything. I didn't know what to do. And luckily I was able to come across many creators on, YouTube and as well as Instagram to educate myself on personal finance, and to be, to also encounter this opportunity to become a tax professional. I realized, like, oh my goodness, like, all this stuff can be simplified if there were just people who are willing to like sit down and try to dumb things down. Because, I'm not gonna lie, like, my reading level back in the days was horrendous. Like, my writing style, like, and it's because, I grew up in a Spanish household, so I was mixing Spanish and English, and so it was a struggle for me. And I know, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's feeling some type of way. It's like, it's hard, especially when you're learning 2 different languages, and then you're learning everything else, and it's like, it's makes you blown. It's a lot. So I knew I was like I was overwhelmed, but to be able to finally like just sit down, be like, take a moment to breathe, take it in step by step. I'm like, okay, this is, I'm pretty sure my community are feeling the same way. And I have to make sure that, like, listen, you're going to be okay. I have your back. I'm going to go ahead and, help you with this, because I know it can be very intimidating. And, I really want them to know, like, like, you're not alone. I know that, there are other tax professionals who really don't sit down with you and break things down to you in terms of like why you got a tax refund or why you got a tax bill. Sometimes they'll just kind of see you walk in and plug in the information, and that's them. Be like, here you go, you can pay at the door. And it's like, I'm like, no. Like, our community, especially the BIPOC community, they need more help than ever. And we cannot.
We want to understand it while you're doing it.
Yes. And I realized that during my first year, like, people were questioning to me, like, okay, well, why is it that I got a tax bill, or why did I get such a large refund? And I'm like, oh, it's just, because A, B, and C. And they're like, oh, really? Like, yeah. And they're like, well, my other tax professional never told me that. I'm like, well, why not? I know for them it's not simple, but for me, I'm like, no, it's A, B, and C. I just don't understand why your other tax professional didn't want to tell you that. And then I realized, like, wow, this needs to be fixed. Yes. Because I cannot let my clients walk out that door without at least have one or two education information that they can walk away with. I really want them to learn something and feel really confident and feel good about it. Like, wow, she taught me something, and now I'm about to tell my friends and family like what I learned. Because heck, then they'll probably will see you as like, oh, now you're that tax guru too. Like, so, and I get that a lot from others. They're like, Sonia, you understand? Like, what you taught me, I told my friends, I told my mom, and they're all like, oh, can you do my taxes? I'm like, exactly. you can, but obviously it's a lot into it, but I will be more than happy to break things down for you. I'm still learning a lot to this day myself, because again, there's a lot that's going on, but I try myself to like keep up to date with it and try to like, again, simplify things so that I can relay that to you and everyone else on the platform.
Yes, and we appreciate it very much. Can you tell everyone who you are again? What's the name of your business? Where they can find you? And yeah, if they can do their taxes with you, let's go.
Oh, yes. No, well, again, we're still in the middle of tax season, so it's not too late to file your taxes. Again, my name is Sonia, and I'm a first-gen Latinx tax professional. I am licensed in most states except for two, I think, that I know on top of my head, which is Oregon and Maryland. But I am available online. I do most of everything through virtual Zoom calls. So book a free 30-minute consultation call with me. You can find the link on my bio on my Instagram. And that's at Castelan Tax Services, Castelan Tax Services. And again, I have, my website's on the bio. I also have a free tax prep checklist for my individual, joint, and small business filers as well. So feel free to check that out. It's totally free. All I'm asking is just an email and a phone number, and that's it. And you will have that checklist literally instantly. And if you guys have any questions or concerns as well, feel free to shoot me a DM or shoot me an email as well. Everything's in my Instagram bio as well.
Yes, and everything will be linked in the description below and on the screen so everybody can see it, because we want to make sure that if you guys haven't filed your taxes yet, make sure you go over to Sonia. She would make sure that you're not missing any deductions. Okay, guys, do it the right way. Thank you guys for watching. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up to the video, and we will see you again next week. Bye, guys.